and welcome to NewsNight. I am Ladi Akiridoluale. Thanks for joining us today. Nigeria's Navy participated in the recovery of illegally bunkered petroleum products worth over 3.7 billion naira in the last 2 weeks alone within the country. The naval authorities, however, are worried that the amount of oil said to be stolen, ranging from 20 to 20,000 barrels a day, is a gross distortion of facts, as production losses due to other factors like force majeures are said to be included in those figures. My guest on the program today also says there's a high level of synergy between security forces to combat insurgency and terrorism. NewsNight talks to Nigeria's 21st Indigenous Chief of the Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Awal Zubairu Gambo. Admiral Gambo, thank you for your time. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Ali.
Let's begin with a fairly general point, which is the link between the Navy and the other security forces in tackling Nigeria's security issues. We have heard so much about the need for interagency or interforce cooperation. What's that like now?
I would say all over the world, it is a known fact that no organization or agency has proven itself completely capable of addressing crimes such as terrorism and insurgency alone, which currently is subsisting, within the political space of our great country. And therefore, this means that efficient security could only be realized through collective efforts rather than by individual agencies acting independently. Of course, to this effect, within the context of military aid to civil authority and civil power, the Nigerian Navy collaborates with sister services and other security agencies on various fronts in tackling insecurity in Nigeria. Of course, it is noteworthy that the Nigerian Navy also instituted interagency cooperation as one of its transformation plan 2021 to 2030. In it, the interagency engagement fosters shared vision on accomplishment of maritime security tasks, and of course information sharing, leading to successful arrests and prosecutions in our operations. I must say that one of the positive outcomes of such cooperations we have with sister services and other security agencies is the launch of the harmonized standard operating procedure on arrest, detention, and prosecution of vessels and persons in Nigeria's maritime environment, which was launched in January 2017. And these documents streamlined and harmonized procedures of relevant agencies on the issues of handling of exhibits and suspects of maritime crimes. Further to it, of course, considering that prosecution of maritime offenses involves several agencies, the enactment of the Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Offenses Act of 2019, launched by this current government again, became necessary as a unifying document. Of course, like you know, is there in the public space. Notable conviction using this document was the prosecution of 10 pirates that were sentenced by a high court in Lagos to 12 years imprisonment in July last year, 2021 precisely. So, on, and of course, as crimes keep evolving and, with their dynamics, strategies and enabling laws will keep being amended to fit the situation that subsists.
The Navy is one that most Nigerians don't hear too much about, possibly because, of course, your area of operation is where most Nigerians hardly ever go. Therefore, one has to bring up the issue of equipment and personnel. What's the status of equipment and personnel? And I ask this question because so many times people talk about the fact that, oh, the armed forces can do more if they were better equipped or if they had more personnel and so on. What's the situation with the Navy?
Well, thank you very much. With regards to re-equipping the Nigerian Navy to actualize its constitutional mandate, I would like to first of all appreciate the uncommon support of Mr. President, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic, Muhammadu Buhari, Grand Commander of the Federal Republic, through fleet recapitalization support he has given, which led to the acquisition of several vessels, even including air assets for the Nigerian Navy. In particular, last year, 2021, the Nigerian Navy took delivery of one hydrographic survey ship, which was christened the Nigerian Navy ship Lana. As I speak, it is currently surveying Nigeria's offshore waters using state-of-the-art survey equipment borne on board the ship. This survey that is being carried out is positioning the Nigerian Navy in support of federal government's commitment towards a sustainable development of its blue economy, which, as it is the future of the world. All littorals will leverage in the future on the blue economy. Again, in May this year, the Nigerian Navy also took delivery of a new landing ship transport of 100 meters in length, also christened NNS Kada, crocodile in Hausa language. Yes, it is inducted into the fleet, and it has enhanced deterrence against maritime crimes, in addition to, of course, its unique role in support of non-kinetic operation. Here, it could serve as a hospital ship when equipped with such. It could deliver humanitarian assistance to any country around the globe, and so on and so forth. Particularly in support of, peace enforcement and peacekeeping operation, on the 6th of this month, the landing ship transportation embarked on its first official trip with military hardware and logistics for the Nigerian contingent that are deployed to the ECOWAS stabilization support mission at Guinea-Bissau. As we speak, NNS Kada just returned from her voyage, and she's battered in Lagos. And of course, in furtherance of these acquisitions, other initiated efforts are ongoing for the construction of 2 high-endurance offshore patrol vessels, which Mr. President approved last year, August. Very soon, by early September, we will be going to Turkey, Dersan shipyard, for launching of the keel officially, which flags off the building of the ship for Nigeria. We also have fast attack crafts and then unmanned aerial vehicles, which are expected in country by the end of the year. Of course, I must not fail to also mention that the Nigerian Navy indigenous shipbuilding endeavor, which commenced in 2007 precisely, yes. This has equally yielded dividend with the construction of 3 seaworld defense boats of 43 meters in length. Namely, we have NNS Andoni, we have NNS Karadua, and the third is NNS Oji, which was commissioned, among other platforms, by Mr. President on 9th December 2021. Yes, and as we speak currently, during the same event, he also laid the keel for the construction of the 4th and the 5th seaworld defense boat, which is likely going to be pitched on 45 meters, and we hope that will also be delivered in good time. So the indigenous shipbuilding effort by the Nigerian Navy dockyard is really gaining traction and, of course, patronage by some of our neighbors within ECOWAS and ECAS. Another challenge, of course, is the we face, with the dynamics of, the reality of the current time, is the habit of disseminating unconfirmed and uncomplimentary statements, either due to misinformation or mischievous intentions, regarding our operations. For example, there have been conflicting publications from various sources attributing oil losses to oil theft, which is blamed on inadequate security, casting aspersion on security agencies and all that. In as much as there is no perfect system, the phenomenon of crude oil theft and crude losses must be properly deconflicted in order to prefer lasting solutions to the menace which is currently bedeviling, our economic resource. Here we need to understand the differences between oil theft and, of course, oil loss. In this case, while oil theft is siphoning crude oil from vandalized pipes into barges, oil losses occur when there is non-production, especially during shut-ins and force majeures, as the federal government does not earn the desired revenue it should. Losses also occur as a result of metering errors, on the operating platforms, as read. But however, the volume of crude oil shut-ins from non-production are often added to figures for oil theft instead of declaring them as oil losses, which should not be. Some sources also claim that about 20,000 to 200,000 barrels per day are being considered as stolen. Most of these claims are definitely outrageous and unrealistic. Well, let us even briefly analyze this. Like, for instance, 100,000 barrels of crude oil is equivalent to 15,800,000 liters of crude oil, which will require a 5-ton barge making 3,160 trips per day to convey this product out of the creek. How do you pass, the estuaries with this? Because
3,000 times a day.
Oh yes. So let's assume now you even, have many barges because of the time required to carry out this product. That means you'll entirely close the navigable waters, heading out to sea through the estuaries to embark them or to transship them into a mother vessel that will eventually take them out of the country. Of course, this is most unlikely concerning the heightened presence of security agencies in the maritime environment, as well as the launch of the subsisting operation Dakartaba by the Nigerian Navy, including, of course, the deployment of the maritime domain awareness facilities, like the Falcon Eye. You know, these facilities have, in the last 4 weeks, detected a number of vessels attempting to load crude oil and liquefied natural gas within, offshore terminals without necessary documentation and, of course, approval from relevant authorities like the NNPC. It is after such vessels have been arrested that an updated list with such vessels' name is forwarded to the Navy to effect a release when they are duly programmed, to load any of these liquids within our maritime domain. Some incidences that had occurred in the past 4 weeks to 5 weeks include the apprehension or arrest of MT Vivid Arabia, which is an LNG super tanker, which entered the country on the 12th of July to load liquefied natural gas in Bonny without relevant documents. And of course, we had the MT Trinity Arrow, which was also arrested for entering without necessary approval and clearance to load LNG on the 12th of July also. The latest, of course, which is in the public space, is the super tanker MT Heroic Eden, which is 336 meters long and 60 meters wide breadth. Imagine, a very massive ship. Imagine the size of a 3 football field and 1/3 of it, which was meant like I said, of course, it has a capacity of carrying 3 million barrels. It entered into the space in Apple Field on the 8th of August, or rather 7th of August, and was accosted on the 8th of August, while attempting to proceed to the single buoy mooring at the Apple Oil Field, of course, in Bonny, without approval. And she refused to respond to instructions from the Nigerian Navy ship, which was interrogating her, and then, of course, subsequently preventing her from the loading process which she intended to undertook. Of course, the ship subsequently proceeded towards Nigeria's Satomi Joint Development Zone and raised false piracy incident indicative of our encounter with the Nigerian Navy ship. That was NNS Gongola anyway.
It was accusing.
Yeah, now accusing, knowing clearly that its interaction was with a Nigerian Navy man of war. So, of course, the ship was eventually arrested on the 10th of August at Equatorial Guinea through the activation of the collective arrangement of Nigeria with its neighbors, which, of course, the Equatorial Guinea is part of. She's part of the Gulf of Guinea maritime area. As I speak, arrangements are in progress to hand over to the Nigerian Navy to conduct an in-depth investigation to unearth actions of the vessel in order to ensure a more transparent vessel nomination process for crude oil and, of course, liquefied gas loading procedures at various terminals offshore within the Nigerian Navy hydrocarbon architecture. This
of course, this heroic Eden is its capture or its interception was one of the successes of Falcon Eye, because Equatorial Guinea otherwise would not have had the capacity to intercept this, if not for the fact that the Nigerian Navy was able to provide it with information in real time for this purpose. Of course,
the Captain David, which is the Equatorial Guinean naval warship that interdicted was led by the Falcon Eye MDA onto the objective area where MT Heroic Aiden was heading, and of course successfully arrested. They are not seeing what is happening, but they equipped with electronic chart and paper charts and all that, and so through the Falconite facility here, they were led to the position where Heroic Aiden is, and of course she was subsequently arrested. As we speak, they are answering for infraction on the maritime laws of Equatorial Guinea, and of course when they subsequently come here, they will tell us why they came within our maritime space, and not only that, try to indict us by raising false alarm on piracy. But I must put on note that through the reporting networks of piracy incidents around the world, we were able to speak with the International Maritime Bureau to discountenance that particular incident as null, because Heroic Aiden, positively identified in NS Gongola as a Nigerian Navy warship, that had directed it earlier to proceed to anchorage until when she is due for loading, if at all she's even nominated. Because by the subsequent nomination of her to lift crude oil at Apple oil field, she was supposed to commence on the 17th of August. And
which was not yet time at all.
Which was not yet time, and she was not supposed to be there. And she was supposed to be loading just a little below 1 million barrels. And here she is with a capacity of 3 million barrels. So the intent, we are convinced the intent to steal illegally or to steal Nigerian crude is very, very eminent, which was of course exemplified by her running away while being asked to proceed to anchorage in Aramboni.
And instead of admitting that it was being chased by the Nigerian Navy, trying to say it was being accosted by pirates.
Yes, of course.
This speaks to the importance of information, and yes. Part of what brings information, of course, is intelligence gathering, intelligence assets, and that brings me to naval intelligence. Many people do not know that the Navy has its own intelligence arm, and from what I have seen and from those that I've spoken to, it's a very highly effective arm of the Nigerian Navy. What can you tell us about this naval intelligence and how it contributes to helping the Navy perform its own tasks of combating security challenges?
Of course, the Nigerian Navy has no alternative than to leverage on technology. For example, the Nigerian's maritime domain is vast. Here we are talking about 84,000 square nautical miles, which is approximately 5 million kilometers wide.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. So how many platforms will you deploy to cover this space? And of course, it also extends to the Gulf of Guinea, covering an exclusive economic zone of about 574,800 square kilometers, which is about 10 million kilometers. Here we're speaking. So gleaning from this vast area of maritime environment, Nigerian vessels cannot be everywhere. Hence, of course, the importance of intelligence, which, of course, the Falcon Eye is part of that infrastructure. And, of course, intelligence, is key in every of our operation, and it is also an important tool in the fight against various crimes, including terrorism and insurgency, which now currently subsists. Of course, not only in Nigeria, across the globe. So considering the limited resources and, of course, the need to meet operational mandates within our maritime domain, Nigerian Navy patrols and operations generally are intelligence-driven for effective results, as well as to save cost on logistics. In addition to human intelligence, amongst others, the Nigerian Navy, seriously leverage on technology, like I said earlier, as the maritime domain awareness facilities as veritable force multipliers. This has positively impacted maritime security operations, leading to arrest of numerous vessels that have violated, and of course, we still want to violate our maritime laws. Further again, it enhances our revenue generation for the well-being of Nigerians and socio-economic development of the nation. Through that, because if you have an intelligent infrastructure, it only means that you may not need to deploy capital vessels as many out there at sea. Imagine what the diesel price is today. For example, the budget for 2022 was pitched at 365 naira or thereabout, to the liter. Now we're heading almost 1,000 naira or thereabout. I stand to be corrected, for the cost of diesel. So we must optimize and judiciously use the resources available to us to achieve our constitutional mandate.
Earlier this year, I remember you making a statement at an event where you said, and it brings me to the issue of interagency support and collaboration, that, look, yes, the Nigerian Navy arrests vessels and so on, and then because it is not a prosecuting agency, it's supposed to hand over these vessels to the prosecuting agencies, along with whoever has been arrested and so on. But that you find that the Nigerian Navy still has to keep custody of many of these vessels and so on at additional cost to it. That gave the impression that maybe sometimes, the Navy doesn't quite get as much of the support as it should get in helping to tackle these security challenges, particularly when it comes to things like bunkering and oil theft and so on. Is that indeed the case?
Well, you're absolutely right. In the conduct of our statutory enforcement and maritime policy rules, the Nigerian Navy arrests numerous criminals for committing infractions within, our maritime domain. However, unlike other law enforcement agencies with prosecuting rights, we cannot prosecute offenders, or we are not permitted to prosecute maritime suspects in civil courts. So, to that effect, the Nigerian Navy has lost many cases on arrested vessels due to non-diligent prosecution, but because we have the exhibit. And in keeping the exhibit, it costs us huge logistics requirements, which are not budgeted for. Though, to that effect, we are in liaison with the Office of the Attorney General, so that when such vessels or maritime offenders are prosecuted, the proceeds of sales of crime, the Nigerian Navy should be beneficiary or part of it, so that the resources we have used to make sure that those exhibits are safe and subsequently handed over or ceded to the Nigerian government, we benefit from that seizure or sales, so that it will also enhance our operation. In addition, you find endless trial periods for maritime crimes, which lead to prolonged litigations and several abandoned vessels, across the Nigerian Navy bases. Of course, like I said, it costs money to maintain those assets, because sometimes, by some dint of accident, some of those maritime offenders may go free based on technicalities in courts, and then you may be required to present those exhibits. So you cannot afford to, to even lose a liter of either diesel or crude or condensate that are laden in those barges or containers which are under your custody. So the Office of the Attorney General is, in sync with this, and it's making effort to make sure that we are provisioned for to be able to take care of these assets before final prosecution. And of course, we are working to see how the Nigerian Navy can be allowed to prosecute maritime offenders in court due to the obvious, which of course is we carry out the arrest and we know the exhibits therein.
When we come to the Gulf of Guinea, which you've already talked about when we're talking about the heroic Eden vessel and a number of other vessels, this year there has been no incident in the Gulf of Guinea. And looking at it on the surface, there will be those who will say, well, that speaks to better collaboration between the countries that are within the Gulf of Guinea and then outsiders who are interested in the Gulf of Guinea because their vessels also have to go.
Shipping.
That's right. Now, is it so? Is that the situation?
Absolutely. Here, the Nigerian Navy is actively involved in regional maritime security collaborative engagements under the auspices of the Yaoundé Architecture or Yaoundé Accord, which was established in 2013, which of course prioritizes cooperation and information sharing between navies of the economic community of West African states and of course that of the economic community of Central African states. To this end, navies of ECOWAS Zone E, which Nigeria belongs to, comprising here we have Benin Republic, of course Nigeria, Togo, and the Gendarmerie of Niger Republic endorsed a memorandum of understanding to that effect. This signed policy document entails the needed collaboration and pooling of resources for combined patrols and safety of the maritime Zone E domain. Yes. Similarly, the Nigerian Navy has also sustained a permanent representation with the deployment of Nigerian Navy personnel to the Multinational Maritime Coordination Center in Benin Republic, as well as the deployment of a Nigerian Navy Rear Admiral to the ECOWAS Regional Maritime Security Center in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, called CRISMAO. Here, the Nigerian Navy also organizes international maritime conferences and regional maritime exercises, which bring partners, of course, in the Gulf of Guinea to discuss contemporary security issues. For example, the last was from 30th to 31st of May this year in Rivers State to commemorate the 66th anniversary celebration of the Nigerian Navy. At the sidelines of the conference, a working document named the Port Harcourt document was produced, which is in furtherance of the African Union Peace Security Council communique codenamed 2012 of 23rd June last year, precisely, yes, that authorizes member states to establish regional maritime task forces within African waters. There a decision was taken, in Port Harcourt.
Yes.
Yes, by heads of African navies and coast guards for a 7-nation experts committee comprising representatives of navies of Angola. We have the Cameroons, we have Congo, we have Ghana, and Nigeria. There is also Senegal and Togo to review the document, which is the Port Harcourt document, Yes, and in order to allow wider circulation of the reviewed document before forwarding it to the African Union, as we speak, a physical meeting of 20-man experts is ongoing in Senegal to study this particular document. Yes. This is, of course, to enhance adoption of practical modalities and roadmap for the establishment and operationalization of the Gulf of Guinea Maritime Task Force. I'm pleased, of course, to inform you that the Nigerian Navy is driving this process, and the cooperation from member nations is quite encouraging. So it will soon be consummated, and then further necessary action will be taken at the AU level.
The illegal bunkering phenomenon is something that the Navy has had to deal with, particularly in the Niger Delta area, where you have illegal refineries, you have people operating almost a parallel commercial enterprise to that of the NNPC and to that of government. What is being done? What's the Navy's role in that? How is the Navy attempting to tackle that?
Well, in the first place, it was envisaged that the activities of economic saboteurs and illegal oil bunkering activities will increase, sequel to the reduction in piracy, as attested by the International Maritime Bureau. Of course, you know, on the 3rd of March, Nigeria was delisted from piracy-prone countries. That was as a result of our filling the gap in that endeavor. That gave credence to that. And because of that, it necessitated the activation of Operation Dakartaba, because we saw it coming, because the maritime offenders who want to lean or change to other form of crimes, you know, to continue to exist or to make an illegal means of livelihood. So Operation Dakartaba was launched on the 1st of April this year. And the operation focused on crushing metal storage tanks constructed and located within the creeks. You can imagine over 3,000 creeks in the Niger Delta that are used to, you know, store stolen crude oil and, of course, illegally refined AGO. The deactivation of these sites are supported with a choke point management and control regime, which involves the deployment of armed personnel on houseboats, which are stationed strategically around the river entrances and the estuaries within the creeks to arrest vessels, most especially wooden boats and barges, which are used to convey stolen products to other larger vessels and, of course, subsequently out of, you know, our shores.
Yeah.
Yes. So in addition to this, the Nigerian Navy ships, usually on patrol at sea, are supported by aerial surveillance and the maritime domain awareness facilities to identify vessels illegally positioned to convey stolen products. I must put on record that a review of Operation Dakartaba in the last 5 months revealed over 216 illegal refining sites that were deactivated. We have over 2,920 metal storages and over 145 wooden boats that were destroyed during the period under review. Of course, in addition, oil thieves were by implication denied 41,378,340 liters, which is equivalent to 266 or 60,241 barrels of crude oil. And regarding the AGO, we have 18,747,830 liters of illegally refined AGO that were prosecuted.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and of course, this has prevented over 27 billion naira from getting to undeserving individuals, which could, be used to support criminals of all kinds in diverse ways. Though we are not yet there, but achievements recorded thus far necessitates, a review of the outrageous quantities of published stolen crude oil. Honestly.
And that then brings me to something else. When many people see the Navy, we've been talking about the Gulf of Guinea, the creeks, and maritime waters. Everybody expects the Navy in those areas. But to evident surprise, the Navy is also involved in counterinsurgency operations in the north and so on, even though those areas largely, many parts of those areas don't have water. But tell us a bit about that. What's the Navy doing in terms of security operations in the north?
Oh, that's a good one. The naval personnel form part of the patrols and the clearance teams in the operations in the northeast, as well as other parts of the north, and they are performing extremely well. In particular, at the Nigerian Navy Special Boat Service, that conduct more daring and specific missions towards enhanced national security. They operate just like the United States Navy SEALs. SEALs stands for Sea, Air, and Land, operations, and they are very potent. Their presence at these theaters of operation has been impactful and has recorded a lot of successes. It also has a multiplier effect, as averagely one Navy Special Boat Service operative is equal to 27 regular soldiers. Here I'm talking about the potency. When well equipped, well protected in terms of personal protective equipment, the potency of one Special Boat Service operative is equivalent to 27 soldiers or regular naval personnel. And furthermore, the Nigerian Navy established some units in the northeast and the other parts of the north, which forms part of the security architecture in respective states that are located for enhanced internal security operations in support of land operations. Here we have the naval base in Lake Chad, which is strongly maritime in nature, though the Lake Chad basin is long overdue for revival, so that it can link back to the Atlantic Ocean, which is a story for another day. But I know the government is committed to ensuring that the Lake Chad basin is restored for the benefit of the countries that are in the Lake Chad basin. The Nigerian Navy also has a naval base in Lokoja, which provide presence, along Lake Chad and of course the River Niger, to deny criminals and terrorists freedom of action, to explore the water bodies for nefarious activities. Like Lokoja is a link. It's like an artery to over 7 to 10 states of the Federation. So the naval base NNS Lugard is prominently located or strategically located to support operation both on land and the maritime ways, to ensure that criminality is reduced to the barest minimum in that area or state generally.
As we begin to wind this down, I want to ask you this. What we've spoken about so far is very tempting. if you are an officer of the Navy and you capture a vessel that is carrying such huge quantities of various products, there's the temptation that you could be, I don't know the phrase to use, you could be...
Compromised?
Yes. And I know that one of the things you said not too long after you resumed had to do with that you were going to have very no tolerance for corruption or corrupt officers, and that you were going to flush them out. How much success do you think you've had in that regard?
Well, we are succeeding very well. First of all, is to change the psyche of the personnel that perhaps are compromised or that have the tendency to be compromised. By taking care of their welfare, their accommodation needs, all their entitlements paid them, uniform requirements, and all that. And of course, to conscientize them on the need to have a patriotic mindset towards their great nation. And I think we have gained a lot of traction on that. I can authoritatively tell you that I am convinced that over 90% of our personnel are screwed in, are whipped into line, and are ready to protect Nigeria from seaward, and of course support the civil authorities and of course other sister services and security agencies in making sure that our common patrimony at sea is not compromised, and of course the security of the Nigerian state is equitable, where our peoples live without fear of any violation by terrorists or insurgents, as we are currently facing.
Admiral Gabo, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you
for your time.
Thank you.
That's our program today. We would, of course, like to hear from you on the conversation. Our social media handles are right there on your screen. You can also listen to this and previous episodes of the program via our podcast. Please visit our website, channelstv.com/podcast to get started. I am Ladi Akeredoluale. Goodbye.